Hey everyone, it's Mark here, and today we're back on the Mecatech FW01 RC car. That's it, we're going to be looking at wiring today, and what we're going to look at is you can use across all RC cars again, electric, nitro, 1/8, 1/10, 1/5, what have I missed, quarter scale, I don't know, whatever it is, even RC planes, boats, helicopters, submarines, what else? I don't know, RC anything, robots, drones, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to shorten servo leads, how to tidy up your wiring, a couple of different management techniques for fifth scale cars as well. So if you're anything like me, if a servo came with a standard length lead, that thing just got jammed inside the receiver box and it was a bit of a nightmare to maintain. But after today's video, you'll get that clean pro look. I'm going to show you how it's super easy and it's super cheap and you'll never turn back after doing it. Thanks for watching, guys. Alright, this is a video I've been wanting to get to for a while because my spare engine doesn't have a kill switch connector on it, so it's something I've been really keen to do. So while I'm at it, I'll be in the receiver box and I'll show you guys just how easy it is to neaten up your wiring in there. So let's get started. I'll just disconnect my temperature Futaba temperature module and probe. So my receiver box is quite full because it's got the Futaba temperature module in there as well as a kill switch. But you can see you can still have a really neat and tidy job. Alright, so here's my receiver box. I'll talk you through what's in there as I dismantle it. So the first thing that we're going to take out is the kill switch. So the kill switch, which sits here, just utilizes a spare channel. It has an LED indicator to let me know when it's on and off, and it just has another plug there that runs out to the engine that we'll be looking at today. So I'll just unplug those. So there's the module there, but I'll show you some more detail of that later. So next is just the receiver left in there. So I'll just show you the cable management first. You can see here, I've used some heat shrink either side just to hold the cables in position. There's a dedicated spot within the lid. You can see just here where those cables enter the receiver box. When you're using more than one or two cables, it can be quite a challenge sometimes, and you can run the risk of pinching one of those cables. You can see the heat shrink just bundles them all together and you can get the lid on so easily. You can see there, it's just a perfect match and straight on. Well worth the effort to do that when you're assembling things. So it can be quite a challenge in a large scale car with 4 servos and a surface receiver with only 4 ports. So as an example, this one here is the throttle and the rear brakes. These two are the steering, and this one here is the front brakes. So what happens with a 4-channel radio is the 2 steering servos run off the 1 channel and they get split normally with a Y harness. But the Y harness can take up a lot of room within this small space. You can see here the manufacturers don't give you very much room for cable management, but I'll show you what I've done. The method I've used, I believe, gives you the best power results for the servos too. So these servos probably draw around, I don't know, maybe an amp each under load. So there's quite a load there and they need some good power, these digital servos. Let me pull it out and I'll show you what I've got. So the other thing that helps with keeping a receiver box nice and tidy is having the correct length servo leads. So often the servo leads will just come with a generic length and we'll coil them up in here and then plug them into receiver, but it takes up so much room. It's really easy to shorten these. The crimpers are very, very cheap, the plugs are cheap, and it's super easy to do, and the results, as you can see, are amazing. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. It's a really easy job. So that's it there. You can see how the heat shrink has just kept those cables there nice and bundled together. So easy. It's so easy to tell which connector is which. I've labelled mine. There's a little mark on those. You can see if I turn one over. So there's my receiver and the power distribution board I was talking about for the steering and for power input, but I'll show you that in more detail in a second. I'll just pull that out. The other thing that helps with keeping things neat and tidy and the performance of receivers and the longevity of receivers and other electronic components is a foam insert. This is one I've cut out, and I've cut out to fit my kill switch nice and neatly in there, as well as my receiver nice and neatly in there. It really does make a good job of keeping everything nice and neat. And you can see here, it's just a couple layers of 10mm foam I've cut out. Really, really valuable, that. All right, here it is. This is my receiver and what I use for power distribution and to split the steering servo. You can see here, it's just a 5-way header board with a servo plug on it. It gets plugged into the steering port there, and it gets double-sided tape to the top of the receiver. So the beauty about this is it gives you extra inputs to power things like transponders or kill switches or whatever it might be, and it also gives you somewhere for the power input to come into without utilising a spare channel. The beauty of this also, the digital steering servos get a really good power feed because they run straight off this bus here. So really is a good method of connection, that. So you can see here just how easy it is to get this nice and neat in this receiver box. So what we've done, we've cut some foam, we've trimmed these leads down, we've used a power board, and the lid now, there's no wrestling with the wires, the lid will just drop on and lift off again. So why is this important? Well, for maintenance. You can pull the lid off, you can check all your connectors, you can make sure you can pack this with more foam, you can take those connectors off and give them a good spray with some contact cleaner, you can make sure everything is in order. You can also, using one of these headers, be sure that you're getting a good amount of power supply to your high torque digital servos. So I'm using a solid state power switch to supply power from the battery. The battery sits here on the Mecatech. So from this LiPo, it goes in via this power switch. So this is solid state. It's actually a LiPo Guard 1. I don't use that function. It does also have a little battery status indicator here, green being good. It turns to orange and to red when it's flat. It's my little transponder that sits under there on the Mecatech factory spot. So some of you might be thinking, surely that's not enough, this thin gauge wire to power 4 digital servos. Well, it is. These switches are rated at 10 amps. And again, even if I did have a heavy gauge wire, I'd be still connecting to the receiver via one of these servo plugs. So one of these servo plugs, these guys are rated at 6 amps continuous or 10 amps maximum. So I'm thinking these servos are about an amp each. So we've got 4 or 5 amps at most going through that. So this is gonna be just fine. Actually, do you know what we're gonna do? Let's hook up a multimeter and we'll just see how much these draw. All right, if you've ever wondered how much current a setup like this draws, here we go. We're about to test it. So you can see there that right now it's drawing 0.1 of an amp. So that's 100 milliamps, 125 milliamps, 0.1 of an amp. So we'll go full throttle first. No, not too much. Full brake, we'll go full brake. So full brake is around 1.5 amps. So we'll go full steering. So that's 0.6 of an amp. 0.6 of an amp. Now we'll go full brake and full lock on the steering. So around 1.8 amps. How about that? I actually thought it would have been a little bit more than that. So full brakes, full lock, 1.8. That's without ABS. I'll just simulate a little bit of ABS there with full lock just to see if it's any different. Nah, not too much change. Wow, I wasn't really expecting that actually. I was expecting more. So you can see how the 6 amp rating of these little servo plugs, 10 amp maximum, are well within their capacity, and the same with these switches, and the same with this light gauge wire. You would have seen maybe the little power light flicker there too, just on momentary. That'd be just a little bit of voltage drop because of the multimeter and how I've just got these leads clipped up here. So without that, that wouldn't happen. So while I was looking for my crimpers, I found a Y connector harness. So you can see here just how big and bulky they are to be fitting in a little receiver box. So well worth the dollar it is to buy one of those little connector headers that I showed you before. Well worth the effort. So I'm going to show you now how to shorten servo leads or any of the servo connector leads. So you can buy the servo connector plugs and the little connectors from most hobby places. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you're after somewhere you can just click on it and buy. The same with the crimpers. I'll leave a link below on where to buy these crimpers, but again, they're very, very cheap. These are around 25 Australian dollars, which is next to nothing in US dollars or euros, trust me guys. And the only other thing we're going to need is just a little pair of side cutters. Sometimes you can get other crimpers, more expensive crimpers that have side cutters and wire strippers and bits and pieces, but you'll see me here, I'm just going to use the wire cutters to strip the wire. It's a really, really simple process. So hopefully I can keep things in focus here for you. I'll try my best, but it's not going to be easy, I don't think. So the first step is to obviously work out what length you want the connector. I want mine here, so I'm just going to make a cut here. That's it, full send now. Just like Blair in the Mini. So now that's cut, I just need to strip back those 3 wires. The easiest way is just to clip them like that. You don't need much in between them, so I'll just show you. You just need to part them back around 10 millimeters. So there they are there. You just need to be able to separate them like that to get into the crimper. We'll just break off 3 of these little connectors. So you just work them back and forth and they come off this row here. So hopefully you can see on these connectors, there's two little spots where the wire gets crimped. The first one here, the actual conductor of the wire gets crimped, and this section here, the insulation of the wire gets crimped under that. The crimpers do it all for you. You don't have to worry about that, and I'll show you how to place it in there in a second, but you just need to remember that the insulation gets crimped under this piece and the wire under here. It might be hard to see on the camera. All right, so the next step is to strip these wires. So you don't need much. There's only a couple of millimeters that gets stripped away. Now, ideally, you just want to make sure that all of those strands of the copper wire are nice and twisted together. You don't have to, but it does help in the crimping process. So twist those ends together. So there we have 3 stripped ends, nice and neat. So the next thing is to load this into the crimper, and they only fit in one way. So they sit in there. I'll just load one up. They sit in there like that, and then the wire gets pushed into there, and we just simply crimp down. So the wire goes in until the insulation's just within that holder, and then we crimp down, and there it is there. Really hard to get to, but I'll take a close up in a second. Let me just get these other ones crimped in. So there are the 3 connectors on there. We could use the black plastic plug off this, but these are really cheap, and they normally come with the kit of stuff anyway. So we'll do that. The only thing you've got to worry about here is the orientation, the polarity of the wires, and also the plugs only fit into the black socket one way. So one edge of the plug has got a flat edge and the other side's got a recess. The recess goes to the little tabs. The little tabs hold them captive. So just remember the polarity, and they just pop in there, and then we'll slide it down. So you can see there the little recesses where the tabs would clip in, and then they just work their way down into there, and they just need to get pushed in nice and firmly, and they'll all clip in. You can hear them clip, 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 and there you have it. Nice and neat, trimmed down, no excess. Simple as that, guys. Really worthwhile doing. Well, that's it. Job done, guys. Well, almost. I didn't get the kill switch done because I was talking way too much about servo leads there, damn it. So anyway, it'll be a video for next time. I'll cover soldering wires, how it's run, how to program a radio, and how they work. So it'll be a really great video. But if you are enjoying these videos, please remember to subscribe to the channel, to like these videos, comment, share, but you know, mainly comment. I love seeing the comments. I love chatting with you guys from all around the world. It is fantastic and I really do enjoy it. We're heading out to the track this weekend, so the next video will be race orientated, some pits, some pit walks, some racing, some bits and pieces, so something to really look out for. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.